Woo-hoo-hoo. And we're live once again on another Tuesday. And I've got my buddy in the house today. So it's going to be fun. I feel like December is just like an amazing month. I don't know. It's just like so many guests, so many topics. I'm really, really excited. And thank you for being my first person in December to kick it off, Annette. We always have so much fun when we go live, and we're informative as well. So, our topic today is about writing with purpose, books that build your brand and build your business, actually, but build your brand too. So it kind of all goes together. And basically, we're going to be talking about why it's so important to have a book that is aligned with your business. But before we get stuck in, Annette, I want you to introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll start chatting.
Oh, okay, cool. So, I'm Annette Richmond, obviously, you see my name here. And I am a content marketing consultant, coach, trainer, a bit of LinkedIn thrown in there. I work primarily with business to business professionals, consultants, entrepreneurs, and help them create content that is going to build the know, like, and trust factor with their potential clients and shorten the path to yes. So, and then, of course, as you know, I love the video. So that's me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Annette, I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've watched you pivot your business. When I first met you, you were all in the resume space and job search. And, I was on your show talking about, doing video on, for job hunters and all that sort of stuff. And you made a change with your pivot. You've done several sort of like tweaks, and now you are where you're at and you're excited and you're leaning in. And you recently wrote a book, and
Mhm.
I love your book. I have your book. It's wonderful. It's all about video, and we'll of course talk about your book. But what I want to talk about is you were not a first-time author. You have been writing books for several years now. You've written books on resume writing and the career space, the job search space.
Mhm.
And so when you pivoted your business, I guess somewhere along there you said, I need to have a book that better reflects my brand and my current business model. So, can you talk about that? First of all, tell us what your book is, and then come back and tell us, why did you write that book?
So the book that I released just a few months ago was Mastering Short Form Video Content, which is my business and really my favorite thing to do and to talk about. And it aligns with my current role of doing content marketing, working with clients to help them with their content marketing. So I've been working online since like 2000. I have a career site; it's still up there. I had been working. I had sort of fallen into the career space when I got a master's in psych. Long story there. I had an online career site because there wasn't really much of anything back in 2000 to help people with their careers. And, I wrote on it. I had writers that I hired to write for me. And I did my first book. It was on goals. It was setting goals. And it was based on things that I learned as a vocational counselor when I was working at a training facility. And then, of course, shift. I'm in the career field further along. I did some recruiting and then was in, resumes, LinkedIn profiles. So of course, book on resumes, how to write resumes, because, as you know, and we can talk about, a book gives you credibility in what you do. It really, I think it does. It can help you get on live shows and podcasts and all these other things. So I had that book, and they're both still up there. The resume book actually still sells, and it's so funny because I've been thinking about doing another book, and I had someone on my show talking about books, and they said, "Oh, you have a book. Why don't you start being, because you want to be the author?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but not for resume. I just don't want to be known for that right now." And so this is what prompted me. I was talking to you about it actually, and you're like, "You got so much content, just do the book." And I'm like, "Okay." So out comes this book, which is representing, gives me some authority in what I'm doing now. So I hope that wasn't too long of a story there.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I think you locked into some great ideas that it's like if you have books, like books do build our credibility and it get us on podcasts and interviews and speaking engagements and just so many wonderful things that we can do with a book. So a book is, I like to call it sort of like your 100-page business card. Your book is going to open up doors for you. But if it's a book that's no longer aligned with what you want to do, and people are like, great, I loved your book about resumes, Annette. I'd love you to do my resume. And you're like, but that's not what I want. That's not what I'm trying to sell you. And there's like a disconnect. So it's almost as if, I hate to say it, but it's almost as if you had to write a book to come back into
Mhm.
the space, because otherwise you're confusing your audience. And I know I did the same thing where it's like my earlier books had to do a lot with video marketing. I still do live video, but the thing is that now I'm kind of made the shift into books. So it made sense for me to write a book about books, kind of
Yeah,
meta. But
absolutely.
that makes sense. So what I want to ask you is timing. Timing is everything. So it's like, at what point did you feel, okay, I feel I'm an expert? Because we always feel our books are bringing our expertise. And your book does have so much expertise in it, Annette. But at what point can somebody making a pivot feel that, like, okay, I know enough now that I can share my expertise? Sort of, how does that happen for you?
So, the thing is, I think that is sort of a misunderstanding with people is that they have to be like the best. So if I am, let's say this is the pyramid. So this is the top of the pyramid, and this might be, I don't know, maybe Seth Godin or something. And the people that I'm going to be talking to, if we're talking about books, are like here, and I only need to be here. I'm a big proponent of Amy Porterfield. I've taken courses with her. I'm actually taking one now, and her philosophy for teaching is, and I've heard this sort of before, is you only really need to know like 10% more than the people you're trying to teach, because so I basically um you know my goal is to teach people who are me like 4 years ago, because obviously, and one thing I just want to mention, and I'm sure we'll talk about this like with video, is people aren't looking for a Hollywood production, and with your book the same thing. They're not looking for, I don't know, I can't think about like a textbook that's 500 pages. So,
I agree 100%. And I love that because, to be honest with you, I think that makes you a more effective author when you are just, you know, a year ahead of who you're trying to help. Because the thing is that your book is for people who are maybe hesitant about getting in the video space, feel overwhelmed about the video space. There's so much to know, and you've kind of simplified it down. You made it easy peasy of like, here's what you need to know to get started. Here's the basics. And you covered the things of the different platforms, the different ways you can do video, tips on how to make videos, captioning your videos, all those basics that people need to have. And I think sometimes we all have this sort of, I call it the curse of knowledge. We think everybody knows what I know, right?
yeah,
And
for sure.
we're wrong, because what did I not know a year ago? What did I not know 2 years ago, 3 years ago? That's who you want to write for. I call it yesterday you. You're writing for
Oh, I like that.
yesterday you. And
Mhm,
I think that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant. So here's a question. Video is a huge topic, Annette, and it
mhm.
is a topic that is, constantly changing. It's like you almost don't want to buy an annual plan of anything, because it's like you get a monthly plan because something could change tomorrow, and you're just like, and look at LinkedIn, how much has changed. So on the one hand, you went broad because you talk about video on multiple platforms. So it wasn't just
Mhm.
LinkedIn video, it was video whether you're on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn. It was like general, so it was applicable to all. But your book is concise in that it just kind of gives us the basics. It's not the manual of like, here's the 800-pound book that now we need, 5 months to study. So how did you decide what to include and what not to include?
Wow, I think it was just um looking at things that people ask me. One of the reasons that I shifted my business originally a couple of years ago now is because people were kindly always asking me, how do I do this? I still get my
Mhm.
friends, they text me, I'm on CapCut and I can't take the captions and the caption I put on there. And I'm like, I don't know. And they send me a picture and I tell them what to do. And so a lot of the book is primarily the things that people ask me about, and then wanting to add some additional value with, talking about content calendars and things like that to make it, a little meatier. Although I have to say, and I think you'll agree with me, because I was at a book fair recently. I was so excited to be there. And most of the books were like little books. I didn't
Mm,
see, except for possibly novels, I didn't see any big fat books there. They were
mm.
all, I would say definitely under 200 pages, 150, 125.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to ask you about your book festival in a minute because I
Okay.
think that's great, and I love talking about the marketing. So I want to ask you. So I love that you are totally self-published, and you were like totally self-published. Like you did it all. You got it up on Amazon. You wrote it. You did all the things. And so I know that you did your previous books self-published, so you didn't go through any hybrid publishers and Random
Mhm.
House or anything like that. So what did you notice is different between your first books and when you did this book? What's changed in the self-publishing Amazon space?
So I would say the two biggest things are, first of all, the stigma. There is no more stigma. When I published my first book, it was maybe, I don't know, 2003 or 4 or something like that. And oh my gosh, if you were self-publishing it, I tried to get a publisher and I got this and that and it didn't work out. And but now famous authors self-publish. So there is no stigma to it anymore, which I think is fabulous. The second thing is the ease of publishing, and I know you can speak to this as well. The first book that I did, there was no like Kindle Create or anything like that. My husband, who luckily was a techie, you know, he laid it out in like, I don't know what he laid, Photoshop or something. I don't know what he did, and he had to figure it all out, and they had dimensions to follow, and it was a nightmare. And then, I believe he did the same thing when I did the resume book. There was Kindle Create, so you could do and he had to do the Kindle and lay everything out. So you could create the Kindle on your own, but he still had to do it. And now it's possible. It's possible to do it all yourself, but it's kind of like if you've already done it, maybe because we talked about this, but you know, I think if you're doing it for the first or maybe second time, it's easier to even work with somebody like you because
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And also too, you are you are kind of a techie person yourself. Like if you think about it, you do your own live streaming, you do your own podcasts, you do your own website, you do your own online courses and master courses and workshops and master classes and whatever. So yeah, it for a first time author, it would be a lot to do it yourself. And actually, I admire you because I didn't even do it myself. I had to, get some
well,
help.
so here's the thing also, we're both writers. I was a magazine
Mm,
writer. I studied in college. I was a magazine writer, and wrote, professionally, actually making my living doing it for several years. So, when it comes to that, I don't need as much guidance as someone who's like writing for the first time, or maybe they're just, creating text posts on LinkedIn or something like that. Which is actually what you told me too. It's like you're a writer, just, do it.
exactly, exactly. And I think if anything, anybody who's making a newsletter, especially if you're making a LinkedIn newsletter, if you've been making a newsletter, you've probably already got so much of
Yeah.
your book written.
Yep.
It's like you don't want to just take your newsletters and print them as is. You have to do some way to cohesively bring it together. But that's a really great starting point for
Mhm.
people. And I think for people, sometimes having that starting point really helps because otherwise you're sitting there with this blank Word document going, oh, what do I write?
Yes, that is the worst. So I will tell you one thing that I think I've shared with you, is, me, I have a lot of content anyway, a lot of videos and this and that. So I actually transcribed some of the longer videos that I had and used AI to sort of, put them into chapters. And then
Mm,
obviously I worked on it, but there's so many ways to access content that you already have,
yes, yes.
and I found that that was really a big time saver, for me.
Yes, and it's not cheating if it's your own content because you've
Right.
already done the work.
Yep.
It makes sense, but you have to massage it and do things with it. So
Mhm.
that totally makes sense. So one thing I wanted to ask you about, and then I want to hop over and get some comments. So marketing has changed. So you talked about Amazon's changed. It's gotten easier. There's still a lot of things you have to juggle. So we do admit that it's there's the ebook and then the paperback and the print. The print on
Yeah.
demand is like awesome because
Yeah.
it's like you don't need 70,000 books in your house. So that's always good. So we want to talk, I want you to explain, not share some of your marketing tips, especially too. I love that you said your husband is kind of like is using your books for his business as well for clients, but also talk about your festival and sort of what marketing things that you're doing this time around that maybe you didn't do the first time.
So, first of all, yeah, the marketing. So I think I would say it's a mindset shift for me. I have been learning about marketing. I've been doing new things myself and learning from others. And working with coaches, and I've done some work with Brenda Meller, and she's helped me with a lot of marketing stuff. And I think a lot of it is your mindset, and you just start kind of looking around. As for my husband, yes, my husband does SEO. He works with clients, and the clients that he works with, their marketing people that they hire say you got to do video. So he'll send my book to them to hopefully, help them. And I've just become much more um, out there with my content. I put my book on my banner. I followed the launch for this one, and maybe you can talk about how you come up with that whole launch thing. I followed the launch that I've seen you do, and I've seen you teach your clients to do, is to do that 99 cents for this many days and whatnot. And it really helps to kind of, get the word out there. As for the book festival, I just happen to be on the library site, and I would recommend that people do check out their local libraries. I happen to be on the library site and, looking for books. And I saw a thing called for authors. I thought, oh, okay, let me give it a shot. It's one of our local libraries. And they said, okay, come on in. It was 50 authors there. We had our books. I sort of figured out what I was going to take. I got some bookmarks online. I thought that's a good giveaway, promotes the book. I, got my books and all that stuff. And then, of course, when I went there and I saw the spreads other people had, I was like, oh my gosh, stuff to learn. But it was a great learning experience for me. I got to meet other authors. I got to meet publishers who are but smaller publishers, maybe companies like yours, working with authors that way. Some of them that also did marketing. So, I think it's just, for me, it's just been learning. I see so and so do that. Yeah, I'm going to try that too.
Mm.
And it's not that I'm copying I'm copying maybe the framework. I'm not saying I'm going to just do it just exactly like them and use their same copy and everything, but you have to open your mind and look around and see what other people are doing. That's my biggest thing, I think.
I love that, and, I think you've kinda hit on the head that, you can't just put the book up on Amazon and it's like, "Okay, I'm done." It's like, now
No,
everybody will just go buy my book. It's like, yes, sometimes that happens, but to me, it's like having a baby. It's like, the baby gets born, the book baby gets born, now you gotta raise it. So you gotta get out there and do stuff, and you can't just leave it alone, you gotta supervise it and, do all sorts of different things. So you have to always continue to make people aware of what you have.
and you have to ask, which is hard for me, even with recommendations. And you have to ask people if they say, "Oh, I got your book, it was great." Okay, could you give me a review? Because that helps. you know.
Yes, social proof. Social proof is so important, and I agree. I hate the ask too.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
that's probably the hardest part. That's probably the hardest part. So you're like, "Okay, how about just a photo then?" That would make me feel so happy. So that's good. So speaking of people, let me hop over to the comments, and I do have more questions, so we'll come back to my comments. Okay, so we have the lovely Jeff Young
Oh, Jeff.
sitting in the front row. Greetings from YouTube, front row. I love that he always lets me know YouTube is working. So I love that. And then he hops right into LinkedIn and then he does that one as well. Gillian and Annette, two of my favorite LinkedIn ladies together on stage. We just love Jeff.
Oh,
He's just
we
always so
do. We do. We
supportive.
love you, Jeff.
We love it. And Tina's
Oh,
here.
Tina. Hi.
Gillian and Annette, love the pivots. You are exactly where you should be. And, thank you, Tina. That is so true that I don't know a lot of people who are like, they always do the same thing. They've never changed. Like so many people I know, they started here and then they went here. And then they're just like, and that's why the topic of our show today about making sure that your books are representing what you do today. And take what Annette said. It doesn't, like at the book festival, they don't have to be these long volumes. They can just be a baby book, a mini book that says, hey, this is like, think of your client. What does your client need to know? Those are always great things. Oh, look, David is here with his hat. I love it. Love the holiday hats are coming. I love this. Great, great, great. I love it. I love it. He says, when do you know enough? That's a good question, Annette. When do you feel, okay, I got enough to pour into book? What's your recommendation for that?
Well, I looked at the books of my friends and I saw about, the sizes of them because like you, I know a lot of people that have written books. And my goal was to hit at least 100 pages.
Mm,
And as I was working on the book, I would come up, I came a little short. I was like, okay, what else could I include? Okay, let's talk about some content pillars. Put that in there. Okay, I want to add something else, some bonus things at the end. How about if I throw in a bunch of like I forget how many content ideas I put at the end. And then let's some video hooks. So that's kind of how I did it. I had a framework of what I was going to include. And then when I thought, you know what, I really need to put a little bit more into it. And I wanted to keep making it better and better and better and more valuable. And at some point, you have to just stop. But that's kind of what I did. I had the basic information. I knew what people asked me about, the app, the this, the that. And then I kind of I wouldn't say I fluffed it out, but I just added more content to make it more valuable and to make it a little bit longer because I wanted to have my name on the spine. So, you got to have
that's a
certain,
good tip. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good tip. That's a good tip.
What is
And
that?
I
100
was
pages?
Yeah, at least 100, because I know my first book, I did not have it on the spine.
Yeah.
And my first book was the opposite in that I wanted to just embrace the experiment. And I just went, okay, I don't even know if I'll sell one book. And I didn't even tell anybody. I just wrote the book and I popped it up on
I
Amazon
know.
and I
So
didn't tell
rude.
anybody. But I just kind of went, well, if I hate it, I can pull it down and no one will know. And that was kind of my mindset of like, I just wanted, like, the idea of writing a book was so big that it was like, I just wanted to stop procrastinating. And so I just said, well, I had one idea, how to help people feel more comfortable on camera. And I had, I think, 7 videos that kind of went through that. And I used that as my framework. And I
Mhm.
only had like 50 or 60 pages. It is a skinny little book, but you know what? It got the job done.
Yeah.
It's all you really needed. And
Mhm.
then you could do it. So, I think it can be, you can have a goal of how many pages, or you can just say, here's my one idea.
Mhm.
I'd say to anybody, if you could go teach an hour class. Like if somebody said, could you come do a presentation for our group? And you're like, sure. How long do you want me to talk? And they said, oh, could you talk for at least an hour and maybe throw in some Q&A? And you go, yeah, no problem. If you could do that, you have a book, because the Q&A will fold into your book, right? Those might be stories or whatever. You'd have the framework. And then like Annette says, if you were going to say, maybe I should sell this class, maybe I'll throw in a couple of bonuses. The bonuses, it can add into your book. So you
Mhm.
really don't need a ton of content, do you, Annette, to just
No,
get
no, no,
cracking?
no, you don't. No, you don't. And one of the things that I'm thinking about, I'd love if you could just talk a little bit about this because you have several books up there. Can you talk about the benefit of having kind of more than one? Because I know you have like a whole series, and you sort of created them as a series as well with the book, the covers and everything, which I thought was
So
so smart.
Well, series is just another having your book in a series. So that's just the newest thing that I've started doing is I knew that I had a bunch of books. So I thought,
Mhm.
okay, I could either do one big honking book, but it's going to take me forever, or do I break it down into a series of books because there might be people that just need this bit but not this bit. So it's like so I looked at it as modular that, okay, this makes sense. And to be funny, to be honest, I actually now have a prequel and I'm going to be working on that. But it's like, so it doesn't matter what the order is. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter what the
yeah.
order is. And Amazon gives you that choice. Your books can be in an ordered series or not in an ordered series.
Mhm.
So the nice thing is Amazon gives you a series page. So it's more Amazon real estate. You now have a series page. And then so people can see that and they see the related books. So it's kind of like you're almost telling people if so and so like this, they might like this. So it keeps all of your like minded books together. So to me, it was just like, well, why not take
Well,
advantage of this? Made
well,
sense.
yeah, so that's a great thing that I wasn't aware of, but I am aware is that I have like an author page, which you also have as an author. And
Yes.
if you have podcasts on Audible, you can put those on your author page too, or is it Amazon Music? I don't know, whatever it is.
It's Amazon Music, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's great because it's everything. So it's like if people find you from one book, make sure that you have taken advantage because a lot of people they're blank heads on Amazon, and you're like, what were you thinking? Don't be a
No, I
blank
know.
head. Fill out that author page. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then what you do is you claim each book. You add it to your author page as you go through. And then when somebody goes, oh, she's got a book on this, she's got a book on that, I'll go listen to the podcast. And you can have several podcasts. So it's like, for some reason, my current one, I'm having a problem getting that tied to my page. I have no idea why. But like with yours, you have multiple podcasts, so they can even go back and listen to old episodes. So
Mhm,
it's quite
mhm.
brilliant. I love it. Love it. Okay, so let's see. We got Jeff. Jeff says, as a teacher, so long as you can answer all that questions and tell them one new thing, it's all good. That's so true. It's so true. And it's like, think of the questions that people are asking you. If you want a book that relates to your current business and be aligned with what you're doing right now, think of the questions that people are asking you maybe before they come to work with you. And what would you say is, here's everything I want you to know about my niche before we start working. To me, that's like a brilliant way. But like Jeff said, think of the questions and how can you give them the answers. Do you agree, Annette?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I think, a lot of us do when we just create content in the first place. It's
Mm.
like, okay, what are people asking me? All right, let's create some content around that because that's what people want to learn.
Exactly. Curse of knowledge is a rare curse. It's so true. It's so true. And we discount what we know. I know I've struggled with that my whole life. It's like I always think, well, everybody already knows all this stuff, right? And as a matter of fact, that can hit you when you go to hit that publish button when you've written a book and that you just think, well, what if Annette reads this and says, everybody knows how to do this,
Oh,
Gillian?
oh,
We all do that in our head, but the thing is like that's why it's important to know who you're writing for in the first place, right?
yeah, and well, yes, it is. This is the first time that I wrote a book that obviously, that was being read by my peers and my colleagues and my
Mm,
friends. And, I think I told you that I was so nervous about people reading it. And you said, no, I'm reading it. It's good. It's good. You're okay. I'm like, okay, now I'm okay. So so it can be very helpful, to have somebody, read that. And that's something that, I didn't have anybody else reading it because I was just really working on it by myself. But again, I based it on a lot of the content I already had. But I think, for people that are, first timers, or maybe second timers, but kind of newbies, working with you, somebody like you, eh, preferably you, is a good idea. No, it's true because you don't. It's like you don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing is you don't know what you don't know.
Yes,
Um,
yes, that's so true. That's so true. And I know that's why I don't use beta readers, but I know a lot of people really find that a helpful thing where sort of after that, like I've written my book, but before I've sent it to the publisher, you get your book out to beta readers, which
oh,
can be it doesn't have to be a huge, could be 5 people, and get somebody who knows nothing about, like knows nothing about nothing, and then get some people that do know stuff, like really get your range of different people that can give you that feedback. But
mhm.
for me, I'm always too busy, like, okay, it's good, I'm out. I'm such a
Yeah,
hurry up
yeah,
and publish person.
I'm a big believer, in trying to just get stuff done. But again, I think we both come at it a little bit differently. You've been writing for years. I've been writing for years. And so, I'm pretty comfortable in my ability, to clearly convey. And I get a little help from AI to, clarify this and whatnot, which is always helpful.
That's good. That's good. So we have, and David says, love book bites. I love book bites. Speaking of book bites, I've got Rebecca Wilson coming on next week talking about book bites. So I
Well,
love it. I love it.
that's the thing though. Today, look, I've read studies recently, and I'm sure you're aware of this. People want snackable content.
Mm,
If you're wanting to, share your expertise and you're writing this, 50-page white paper or something, nobody wants to read that.
mm.
They'd rather read a little short book or watch some videos, or nobody wants to read that. They don't have the time.
Yes, yes. And think of your book as being something that somebody says, "I'm getting on a plane tomorrow and I'm flying from, Phoenix to, I don't know, Nashville or something." And
Mhm.
it's like, could your book serve as the thing that they read on the plane? They get off and say, "Oh my gosh, I read through that whole book on my plane ride." That's what I would want to do, is just make it short enough for a plane ride that it's like they get somewhere and now they're smarter. That's good. I love it. I love it. So we have reached the end of our 30 minutes, and I'm wondering, do you have any final words of wisdom to help people with this whole idea of writing a book to better reflect their brand and make sure that they're on brand with their business?
Well, you know me, Gillian. My biggest advice to anybody is if you want to do something, do it.
Mm,
And if you start, and a lot of people that we both know base the content they share on social media on questions that they get from, just from friends, from colleagues, and from clients that they work with. So if you can take the information, I have a thing right now I'm working on. I got a posted notes on a whiteboard, and I have all my stuff on there. So I'm
mm,
putting it, and then I put it in order. But I really believe in doing things when it comes. If you want to write that book, write that book. If you think you want to be on video because you need to, do it. I mean, what have you got to lose, really? The world is, and the last thing I'll say is, like, we're writing books. We're not curing cancer here. It's not like if my book, if people don't like it, that somehow it's going to be an earth shaking occurrence. It's.
yes, just I love it. Like Nike, just do it. Just do
Yeah.
it and make it that bold move for 2025. So I love it because we've got the year end is starting a new year
Oh
beginning.
my
So,
gosh, I
and
know.
will we see another book from you in 2025, Annette? Just asking.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a couple of ideas. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, well, thank you for being here today, Annette, and sharing your story with the audience. And anybody who's watching, anybody who's listening later, I think they'll appreciate just the ideas that we talked about today. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and we'll see you all next time. Okay,
Always a
bye-bye,
treat.
everybody. Okay,
Bye.
bye.